Orange County Board of Supervisors. Today, the Orange County Health Care Agency reported 51 new cases of COVID-19 and 3 new deaths. Our hearts go out to the families of those that were lost. This brings our total to 1,425 confirmed cases of COVID-19 and 25 deaths to date. Despite the fluctuation of cases we have seen in Orange County, the number of those hospitalized with COVID-19 remain comparatively low. As of today, we have 138 hospitalizations and 68 in ICU, and we are seeing a stabilization of the number of cases in this area. I understand that many Orange County residents are currently dealing with economic and emotional issues related to COVID-19. Please note that your county is working hard to assist you during this time and in the months to come. We understand that many of you are looking for resources and even possibly ways to assist your neighbors. The county has launched a comprehensive list of resources to better assist Orange County's residents. That website may be found at covid19info.ocgov.com. On the website, you will find information about relief for small businesses and support for individuals of all ages. Please note that this website will be expanded and updated by the county to better assist you. In addition to the website, I have launched a business ad hoc committee with Supervisor Don Wagner to help assist businesses and during the recovery phase of Orange County response. You will be hearing more from myself and Supervisor Wagner in the coming weeks as we work in numerous business leaders from across Orange County. I also wanted to touch on events happening in Washington, D.C. We saw today that jobless claims continue rising, and the Paycheck Protection Program is now out of money. I hear from small business owners every single day who call and tell me of their struggles, how their employees are struggling. This is real. I am asking Congress to please set aside partisan politics and pass an extension of the Paycheck Protection Program immediately. I also wanted to inform you all about a wonderful development that occurred yesterday. The Korean American community generously donated 2,000 KN95 masks to Orange County. This was followed by donations of over 14,000 face masks and other PPE donated by TOC Foundation, the Elegant Culture and Tradition Center, and the Chinese American CPA Association. All these vital PPE will be going to our first responders and health workers that are working so hard every day to keep the residents of Orange County safe. This is time for sharing and giving. We are all in this together. I want to thank you all of the organizations that generously donated this needed PPE. Sheriff Don Barnes today and District Attorney Todd Spitzer are also joining us. They will be providing an update on bail and the lower rates of calls for domestic violence and child abuse. Again, I appreciate you all joining us today and would welcome Sheriff Don Barnes.
Thank you very much. Don Barnes, Sheriff Coroner with the County of Orange. I'd like to update the county and the media on several of the operations we have in the community, some of the issues we are facing, and update you on our jail operations. Currently in patrol operations, the Orange County Sheriff's Department offers direct patrol services to approximately 1/4 of the county's 3.2 million residents. Those are calls in which deputies respond to and address issues within the community are down 36%. And that's mostly the result of some procedural changes that we have implemented more than a month ago. We are currently handling a lot of calls that don't require face-to-face interaction over the phone or through the internet in ways that will reduce social dealing with the public face-to-face. Unfortunately, the last several days and weeks have seen an increase in some categories that are concerning to me. Domestic violence calls have increased 25%. Calls for family disputes have increased 24%. And child custody dispute calls have increased 30%. As always, when these issues arise, we want you to seek out and get help and intervention wherever possible. I have some numbers that I'd like to share with you that are available in the event you're facing any of these circumstances. First and foremost is the Orange County Child Abuse Registry. That number is 1-800-207-4464. Orange County Adult Protective Services Hotline, 800-451-5155. The National Domestic Violence Hotline, 800-799-7233. The National Human Trafficking Hotline, 888-373-7888. Calling Behavioral Health Orange County at OC Links, that's OCLINKS. Access to resources throughout 211 OC by dialing directly 211. And you can find additional information on the FACT website, Families and Communities Working Together, that's consisting of 15 county family resource centers at www.factoc.org. I remain concerned about the adverse effect these stay-at-home orders has on those who are vulnerable to domestic violence and also child abuse. Domestic violence sheltering options are available for victims and also children that they may have. Please call and report abuse and always dial 911 if you are in immediate danger, and we will respond. Pertaining to our jail operations, to date, we have 24 of the inmates entrusted to our care in medical isolation. Medical isolation is for those who are exhibiting symptomology, flu-like symptoms, and are then isolated from the general public. 13 of those 24 have tested positive for COVID-19, and one test is pending. To date, we have had 17 of the inmates entrusted to our care test positive. 4 have recovered fully and have been removed from medical isolation, and 29 tests have come back negative. All inmates who have been diagnosed with COVID-19 have been treated on site within our jails, and none have required hospitalization. We have 375 inmates in our care who are quarantined. This includes 96 who are new bookings and will be quarantined from the general population within for the first 7 days of their time in jail. This is done as a precautionary measure only and a safeguard from those who might be unknowingly bringing COVID-19 into the jail and isolating them from the rest of the jail population. Those in quarantine still have access to all services within the jail, day room and other privileges. They're just not being commingled with the main jail population as a precautionary measure. And we have had 3 of our staff members working in the jail, deputy sheriffs, who have tested positive for COVID-19. I'm happy to report that one of those deputies has fully recovered and is returning to work. We anticipate one of the others to recover fully soon and return to work, and the other is doing well with mild to moderate symptoms. We continue to address behavioral health issues within our jail, and I mention this because it's important to know that all of the medical and psychiatric treatment continues for those entrusted to our care. I've shared this information previously that 40% of the inmates in our care have a daily nexus to mental health treatment, and 1 in 5 inmates in our jail are self-declared as being homeless. That's important because as those process through our jail and are being released, we connect them to services post-release and afford them opportunities as they re-enter into the community. Our jail population has decreased significantly over the last month. As of March 7th, our population of the jail was approximately 5,300 inmates. Today, the population was 3,309, representing a decrease of 38%. That is 1/3 less than it was at the end of February of this year. Since March 28th, 385 sentenced low-level inmates have been released 30 days prior to the end of their sentence, and some 60 days prior if they were identified as being medically at risk by the healthcare agency. The reduction of our jail's population is the result of many factors. First, the limited release of low-level offenders I mentioned previously, 385. Releases accomplished by the court and through attrition as a result of reduced remands to custody from the closure of the courts. I want to acknowledge the exceptional work being done by our courts, the district attorney, the public defender, and my staff who have worked to ensure due process occurs judiciously, including the handling of bail releases. From the time the courts closed on March 19th to April 10th, the number of hearings held via chambers or via stipulation was 10,245. That's more than 10,000 hearings that continued to occur even though the courts have been closed for some time. Last week, the Judicial Council, through the Chief Justice, issued a revised bail schedule as a result of the COVID-19 emergency. In essence, bail was reduced to 0 for almost all misdemeanors and felonies. As of last Friday, the courts, under new bail schedules, considered the release of 66 defendants, granting the release of 49 and denying the release of 17. I do believe the State Judicial Council went too far in their recent order of 0 bail or no bail for misdemeanors and almost all felonies. Every county is different, and every county has different challenges and constraints. Consequently, there is no one best solution that satisfies each of the state's 58 counties. These decisions should be occurring locally based on current jail needs. No one should be released beyond what is absolutely necessary to create capacity to mitigate risk inside the jails, while at the same time protecting the safety of the communities we collectively serve. Most concerning to me is that the order remains valid and extends the 90 days beyond the declared emergency being lifted. That is not only unnecessary, it is blatantly irresponsible. These release measures should only be employed to address emergency conditions, and only during the period that the emergency exists, not one day longer. Although the government code allows me broad authority to release any individual entrusted to my care during this declared emergency, I will not release any offender who I believe poses a serious risk to the public based on their current charges or their past criminal histories. These releases of low-level offenders who are already nearing the end of their sentences is being done to create necessary capacity, allowing us to continue to house the most serious offenders. Closing, I want to leave you with one last comment, and it's not lost on me that these stay-at-home orders are impacting the livelihood of tens of thousands of Orange County residents. It is easy for those of us in government who are still employed or those classified as essential businesses to implore people to stay at home. I understand the stresses you are facing, and I thank you for the sacrifices you are making. The Sheriff's Department is committed to doing its part to assist with the reopening of businesses and returning our community to the thriving Orange County we have grown to appreciate now more than ever. With that, I'll turn it over to our District Attorney, Todd Spitzer.
Thank you very much, Sheriff. It's such an honor to be here today. This is a very, very difficult time, and I really do want to commend, I spoke at the Board of Supervisors this last Tuesday. I do want to publicly commend your government leaders. The work that they're doing is unbelievable. Dr. Quick, who is here not speaking unless asked questions, the work that she is doing as our healthcare, our public health officer is phenomenal. Chairwoman Steele, her leadership on trying to save lives and inform the public is incredibly commendable. And Frank Kim, who is off camera but also here, and he and his staff are doing phenomenal work. Irrespective of the fact that I think the County of Orange is performing better than any other county in the United States, the fact of the matter is today, even when I went to get something to eat at lunch, there's a closed business next door and the shop owner is there and he employs 8 people at one shop and 7 people at the other shop. There's 15 people out of work who are not getting a paycheck. I indicated last week when I spoke and I talked about certain subjects that one of the lessons we're probably going to learn as a result of these stay-at-home orders is that we're keeping people too close together, unfortunately, who are acting out in bad ways, specifically elder abuse and child abuse. And obviously, there's a lot of potential sexual abuse in those situations. The sheriff reported some numbers today that I think you better pay attention to, and they're alarming. And I know we have the press on this call, and I do want to thank the press as well, because your coverage of this incident has been second to none of reporting that I've seen in my particular lifetime. And many of you are working in outlets where you're providing free coverage because you think it's such an important public service, and it is. And in an industry that's struggling like the news profession, especially print, I think it's phenomenal what the Orange County Register is doing in other outlets. It's our hats are off to you. I'm going to talk briefly about a subject I talked about last week, which is price gouging. I want to talk about elder and child abuse. I kind of covered that, but I want to emphasize some points there. And then I'm going to talk to you about what's happening in the jails and the courts. Well, actually, the courts. So let's cover price gouging. Just as a refresher, I spent a lot of time on this last week, but in a nutshell, if the price you're seeing on the shelf for a particular commodity exceeds 10% of what the price was at that location where you used to buy it, that is a violation of state law under these current emergency orders. Where it gets a little tricky is, as I was driving here to Santa Ana for this event, there are people standing literally in the street on 4th Street selling homemade masks in the middle of traffic. And so those individuals are selling masks for $5. Those masks don't cost $5, but those people, I'm going to guess, have never been in that business before. If a person is selling a commodity and have never been in that business before, they can charge a 50% premium and not be in violation of the governor's orders today. And then lastly, Senator Tom Umberg is carrying legislation sponsored by myself and the San Diego District Attorney Summer Stephan to now make it, in the event of a future pandemic, that you cannot raise prices greater than 10% if you get into the business of selling a commodity, even as an entrepreneur where you never sold that commodity before. If you have any questions, I just want you to call the DA hotline. I set up a scam hotline. The number is 714-834-3482. And it's right on my homepage, orangecountyocdistrictattorney.com. If you're confused, just Google Todd Spitzer and my website will come up. Let me talk about elder and child abuse. As I already indicated, the numbers you're seeing by the sheriff in terms of calls for service and other investigative leads is very, very troubling. Elder abuse reporting had been down 62%. Child abuse had been down 44%. And the reason is because those populations have interacted with people like the elderly at banks or kids in school with teachers or counselors. Those are what we call mandatory reporters. They're legally